And welcome back to the Splitting Hares podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated and our title sponsors, Cottonwood Coffee of Brookings, South Dakota, and Drake's Place of Bowdle. Can't thank them enough for hopping on with us. It's really cool to see you guys when you do go to Cottonwood and you post a picture of your drink or your bar or whatever your quiche, whatever you're getting, and then you tag us in it. That is really cool. We appreciate that. It lets us know that y'all are listening and following through with our sponsors that support us. So we do appreciate that. Kyle, how the heck you doing?
Feeling good, man. It's always great to get a W, right? And it's even sweeter to get a W in playoff competition, and it's even better to get a W in playoff competition at home. So nice to go out at the Dana, get a W. For the last, potentially the last home game that we'll see, barring anything unforeseen and crazy, so that the seniors could go out the right way.
Yes, definitely. Everyone's saying this is the last game of the season, but I am the biggest Holy Cross fan ever. Go Crusaders, right? So get them back in the stadium. And we saw them play in the spring. They have some players. They're a nice team. Yeah. They beat an FBS opponent this year. So, hey, what the heck? Any given Saturday. So, no, they play Friday night. So, never mind. Any given Friday night.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, what do we got here? So, UC Davis review. I want to take care of this before we get even rolling here. So, let's stop the ticker. All right. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the crowd, because that's going to get brought up, right? It's just going to happen. So, yes, do I wish we had more than 3,600 people in the stands? Absolutely. Mark that one down. Ding your bell. I said absolutely there. But it is extremely tough. Even some of our diehard fans were expecting us to get a bye, had made Thanksgiving plans, months in advance or a month in advance, whatever, before we, tripped up against USD. I get it. Still get there. I love it. But at the same time, I'm not going to fault anyone for choosing family over a football game. I'm not going to. I know that's maybe not the right attitude as we look to grow our program, but I don't want to complain about the folks who chose to go to a family event over going to the football game. That's my piece. You guys can ask me about it, but that's where I stand on it. So, Kyle, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. You kind of got to consider everything within the context of the whole. We've had a wild past 18 to 22 months or so. And, with that comes absence of family members from your lives for some period of time. And so folks are going to want to go home. They're going to want to see extended family. They're going to want to mingle with folks that maybe they weren't able to throughout the course of the year. So I think you see across the board, the numbers that you shared, there are, significant drops and declines in attendance. Sam Herder posted the general average for the last regular season home games from some of the teams that were hosting in the first rounds as well. And I think you saw maybe 2 to 3K drop off on average. Granted, the weather's starting to get colder. You have some people who are a bit, picky when it comes to the climate that they want to go out and see a game in. And other folks have multiple. My dog is joining us here for the pod. She had to get a front row seat. So you got other people who have multiple fan allegiances. So they're going to a Gopher game. That was a big one, not too far away. So as we start to build this, again, we're building a history of rapport. This is our at the D1 level, this is our 10th straight playoffs appearance. Maybe there's some fan spoilage as well in there where we're starting to just take for granted the commitment that it takes to get to the next level in the playoffs. And so, maybe there's a little bit of that as well. So I don't know. That's just my take overall. I wouldn't, cry over spilt milk about it.
Yeah, agreed. And Kyle, you said something really good there. You always do, but we don't want to take this for granted. And I think last week in Stig's interviews and his press meetings, he talked about that with the team too, going back to the 2009 team that you were on when you made the playoffs. and how joyous it was to make the playoffs. It felt like you climbed a mountain, and now, like you said, players, fans, it's the expectation to make the playoffs. And so we cannot take this for granted. We are now one of the best, top 5, top 10 teams in the country. We're in the top 16 of the final 16 again this year. This is special. There are teams, Missouri State, you said this, right? Missouri State has gone a long time without hosting a home playoff game, and 5,000 fans showed up for it. So good for them. So we can't take this for granted. This is a special run. We're still searching for that first title. Maybe it's this year. Hopefully it's this year. But this playoff run, 10 consecutive years. Holy cow. That's just crazy. Tammy and Terry, yes, those of us who were there made some noise, though. Kyle, you commented on that. You heard the noise, right, in the broadcast?
Yeah, absolutely. There's my ticker for you on the absolutely counter. But, yeah, we had quite a few shots of, Ben, Brendan, Chad, all the contingent who were consistently showing up, tailgating, doing their thing, and it was loud. So, I mean, it was significantly loud, especially on a lot of those picks that we had. You could hear it bleeding through in that 3,000. You might as well 10x'd it because it really did sound a lot like a full crowd.
Yeah. Cool. Seth agrees. Yep. Awesome. And I'm glad you brought up the picks. Perfect segue. So how about my guy, Dallas Beanham? And Dallas, our producer, can't be here today just to formally welcome Dallas to the Dallas Club. He held a vote amongst the other Dallases. And I guess it's finally official. Like Dallas Beanham is part of the Dallas Club.
I love
that. Pick six was incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean he spells his name with a little more swagger, so I got to give him credit to that. Me having a very bland first name, I always love to see the more non-conventional names. So shout out to his parents for that, and then him owning it because he not only did he own his name, he owned the aerial attack of UC Davis all day. And then he looked like a receiver like he was in high school when he caught it, right? And then want to shout out Arel for making an incredible, championship effort play. If you look at my Twitter handle, Quentin Hicks actually pointed it out because I was just shocked at Dallas's ability when he caught the ball. When he housed one against Dixie State, different level of competition, pretty clear path. But when he caught two and then he housed this last and final one on Saturday, I was very, very impressed. But yeah, Arel sprung him. That championship effort seeps over and bleeds into the mindset and in the way other guys are going to attack any kind of play, any kind of game when there's a little bit of adversity. And that's going to pay dividends here throughout the rest of this playoff run, in my opinion.
Yep. Hey, and so to paint the picture a little bit for those that haven't gone back and rewatched the highlight clip of that pick six, Arel is the player who holds up and doesn't block the wide receiver in the back when Dallas is cutting back. Everyone will recognize that. He's the player that held up, did not commit the block in the back. Beautiful heads up play there. Then he busts his tail to get in front of Dallas and lays a block that knocks out not one, not two, but three offensive players for UC Davis. It was just tremendous. It was great. Like, what a great play, man.
And it wasn't
put that on a highlight tape.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't even the typical, just get a shoulder, kind of like patty cake with him that you would expect maybe to see from a defensive guy. He bulldozed an offensive lineman. And then the offensive lineman took out the legs of two other players. It was nasty. It looked like his old DC Jimmy Rogers getting some blocks on picks historically from back in the day. So it was really great to see. It's encouraging to see the defense needed kind of some sparks like that, some nice takeaways after some games where it was pretty just kind of even, I would say, against like the Yotes and then UND. I mean, obviously Malik had that big pick late in the game, but it was nice to get that juice where we were playing keep away from them and taking the rock back several times.
Yeah. Hey, our friend Jabari wants to talk about Kennesaw. Give us a little bit, Jabari. We are going to get into the other games. Same with Dion. We want to talk about Missouri State busting brackets. Happened to me too. We will get into that, so stick with us here in just a little bit. So what's something else that stood out to you, Kyle, besides Dallas? What's maybe another rave for you?
I mean, I'm not going to shock anyone here, but the way we ran the rock is excellent. It's what we've been clamoring for all year. I really enjoyed seeing the 605 Hogs really just assert their dominance on what was going to be a little bit of an overmatched defensive front seven unit. They ran an odd front. They were doing some things to try to kind of fit the runs, but when they had certain guys off in their fits, when we say fits, for those who don't know, when they're coming in to play gap integrity defense, they may fit the wrong way. They may take an inside gap when they should keep contained, things of that nature. We were just gashing them. And I really enjoy seeing, I know Ben will love this, Isaiah in the pistol. He can get downhill really, really nice when we run some of those stretch zones out of the pistol where we're getting our guys, our offensive linemen more on the edge. And kind of running off tackle. We were bouncing some that way. It was looking great. Pierre's vision. I don't love seeing us give Pierre the ball out of the offset traditional spread gun look. But it does suit Pierre's skill set because he's so patient to the line of scrimmage and he does have a burst out of it. But he was really doing a good job of pressing a gap and then bouncing out when he was able to run to daylight quite a bit, because he ran to daylight for 185 yards and a touchdown. And Isaiah didn't really need to run to daylight because he's going to create his own by stiff arming people down into the underworld. And so that was pretty nice to see too. So that was my big takeaway, is like, you're never going to have a bad day when you can rush for 434 yards or 454 yards, something to that effect. And we can lean on defenses and just impose your will over. What's Marshawn say? Over and over and over and over again. Run through a dude's face. I'll keep it PG for this.
Yeah, right. So there were so many good tweets out there about UC Davis running the ball. Like, man, that was great. Sam Herder, it really cracked me up. He posted the one like, oh crap, Isaiah Davis is back making big boy playoff runs.
That's right.
And then one of the Sam Houston accounts just posted the like dead gif of SpongeBob like digging his own grave and covering it up. Oh man, that cracked me up. Was poor Sam Houston folks. Well, not poor. They won the title, so whatever. James, yes.
Yeah.
9 for 9. So on this, when I start talking about Pierre Strong for award season, I am going to start including the passing touchdowns in the statistics, because quarterbacks are getting included for rushing touchdowns.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like, it's a part of what that teams have to game plan for. It's in their head. They're not coming in up on those as quick as maybe they should or could, because he's that threat to throw the ball. So James, thanks for bringing that up. That's a huge thing that I'm going to make sure I focus on from here on out.
Definitely. And I want to touch on that as well, because, it's one thing to be able to pass the ball when, there's 9 guys in the box and they're trying to stack against the run. It's another thing to have confidence and call those plays. And then it's another thing even still to be able to execute that. To be 9 for 9, like, there are actual quarterbacks that don't go 9 for 9. You know what I mean? Playing at the FCS level and playing at better levels. So I should say higher levels with 84 scholarships. So, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And another thing that kind of gets to me, it's a negative and a positive. So it's kind of a wash. I'd love to see Chris check the ball down to Pierre more. There are times when Pierre is open in the flats, just get him the ball and then let him work in space, because then you make your third downs more manageable. And, Chris isn't a check down quarterback really, which is good. You don't want your quarterback to be a Kirk Cousins. I'm a Vikings fan. You don't want that. So, to his credit, he's looking downfield to try to take his shots. Maybe there'll be some things on film. I'm sure Coach Luan will get with him and look at some of that maybe a little bit more, and leveraging Pierre's ability in the passing game just to continue to keep him that threat and keep defenses on their toes, because, it was excellent seeing Pierre got, I think, 19 touches. Isaiah got 15. So, if we can add maybe about 4 or 5 targets through the passing game each contest, I think that would be excellent.
Yeah. I wonder if if we're waiting, at some point we're going to see those arrow routes come back that were big last year with those two out of the backfield, because we just haven't seen that yet this year, and they both can do that.
Yep.
Kind of a mini rant I didn't write about today, but I'm remembering now, talking about running backs. So we know that when we're heading to the north and the sun's at a certain position, the ball is very hard to catch. I really wish we would quit calling plays or making throws right on that boundary of the shadow light line, because if you do it to yourself, you stare at something kind of dark, whip around and look in light, you see stars. And then imagine doing that in a helmet, trying to catch a ball that's really flying at you. So I mean, it was just Isaiah dropped it, but I don't think he even saw it. Like, to be honest, like how hoofta.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I literally was in that position before playing Southern Illinois in 2009 for our conference title. We had a 2-point play drawn up. I'm looking right into the sun. I caught the ball, but apparently it seemed to be a trap according to the ref. I could not even see the ball, and it was kind of thrown again like Kirk Cousins threw the one today to Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I know you're a Packer fan, so don't gloat too much here. But
I'm good.
No, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. But no, it's just put your guys in positions to be successful. So I kind of want to talk about my one rant. My one rant here is game management, and with that comes maybe not calling boots right into the shaded part of the stadium. Now you can't always expect that because we were open and we could have taken advantage of that. But again, you just want to put your guys in positions to be successful. Maybe not ask Cole Fromm to kick a 50-plus yarder, which would have been the longest in school history. I even think the announcer said, with such conditions like that, when the game is still kind of lingering in the balance as it relates to momentum, and then putting more pressure on your D to really get the job done. Now, maybe Coach Stig had the utmost confidence in his defense, which that's great. You can say that after the fact, hindsight's 2020, but really not the greatest game management. And I would tell him that to his face, and it's just a positive opportunity to correct that, right? And then the other thing is we're going into halftime, and we have the opportunity to run the ball, bleed more clock. We're getting about 9 yards a carry. We averaged, I think, collectively 15.4 yards a carry, right? We're getting 9 yards a carry. We throw it on first down. They have 3 timeouts. We run it. They call 1 timeout. We run it again. Don't get the first. They call, or we ran a screen to Tucker.
Yep.
And then we ran it or something to that effect. And, they had opportunity after not a good punt to really put themselves in field goal range, and they just missed the field goal. And that would have cut the lead to 28-17 going into half, or 28-20 going into half, which is a 1-score game. That is not good. Yep. And, I'm not trying to come at anybody personally here because it's not easy to coach a game, but you got to put yourself in positions to be successful. And that starts with coaching the game within the game, right? Don't go empty when you're averaging 9 yards a pop. You can tell me all you want. Oh, we're trying to see how they're going to align to it. We want to see the looks. This is what we scripted. No. Run the ball. Okay. Yeah. And I even joked about it. If we go empty again, I'm driving up to Brookings and I'm going to have conversations. It's like, oh, cute, man. Like, just come on.
Man,
like, Kyle, Coach Stig to tell his offensive staff to run the ball 100 times, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's honestly like that was uncomfortable in the crowd because it was an actual like angry crowd at that point that we weren't running the ball. It was not a very good scene, or not very much fun. And then when we went out and ran Tucker under center, tried to draw him off sides, and then ran Fromm out.
Too cute.
There was boos, which I don't like. I don't like our fans booing. But at the same time, I get the frustration when we're averaging whatever we were averaging per rush at that point. It was uncomfortable at that point.
I'm going to be very direct here. I agree with you. I'm going to be very direct here. There's a reason why the team up north asserts their will like they do, because they play simple football sometimes, and they will dent you, right? It's 4th and 1. They're going to run. They're going to run you over, and we need to emulate that. Why do we need to emulate that? It's not to be like them. It's because we have the talent to do that, and we're averaging 9 yards a pop. And you can't take for granted that you have a game in control or that you're just more talented. You need to do what your eyes are showing you. And that's like, oh, man, wow, we're gashing them in off tackle run. Let's continue to do outside stretch zone plays, And hey, Tucker has gotten the first down, 3 or 4 times under center. It's 6'5", 255. Run the ball.
Yeah.
Just get it on.
Hey, so we're 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And we have not talked about the 605 Hogs once. So that's a failure on our part there.
Just a little. I mentioned that was what I liked. But yeah. Hit.
So that's their most complete game of the season. Pass blocking, run blocking, best game of the season for sure. At Colorado State, it was a great showing against a very good defensive line that wasn't very deep, which, by the way, one of those starters from Colorado State is grad transferring to Sam Houston for next fall. Thought that was kind of weird. He already announced it. But anyways, what a good game by them. Even when Aaron Johnson, they gave him some breaks, some rest. Dustin Helton. We'll talk about you in a second, Dustin Helton. But even when Aaron Johnson was going out and they did the whole flip, Greenfield went to left tackle, Bo Donald came in. The line didn't miss a beat. They looked good. It didn't matter if it was Eddie, Egan, Gus, whoever at right guard. They played a really good game. So good to see. Definitely.
And it's needed, right? Because anytime you can sprinkle guys in and it's not a liability, but a point of leverage, that's excellent. And I think that going, if your offensive line can travel like that and your defense travels, you're going to put yourself in positions to have a big time advantage. So I'm excited to see what happens. I was excited to see Gus get his first touchdown of many. I thought Pierre broke the plane. I think Pierre was just trying to be friendly and give his guys an opportunity to score. So yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Just going back quick to Scott's question. Do you think the coaches overthink the game sometimes? I don't know. It's tough to say. They have 40 seconds to make a play call. Less than that, really, when you got to get the team in, the call into the quarterback. Probably. Scott, it was nice to meet you this weekend, by the way. Also, Scott, great guy. So
I actually got to meet Scott prior to the North Dakota State game, and for those who don't know, Scott was instrumental in helping do the flyovers, which are a really awesome touch to home games that not a lot of people get. So that's excellent, actually.
Yeah. So thanks, Scott, for doing that.
I want to kind of piggyback off that. I think in terms of do coaches overthink the game sometimes from an offensive perspective, I would say they definitely do because they have scripted plays, right? They have scripted plays that they want to get through to see how the defense aligns because then they can kind of veer off from there based on how the defense is kind of showing their hand. But what I would say, Scott, and to anyone else who has a question about this, there's a game within a game that always takes place. So you can't be so detached and into your game plan that you miss what's actually happening on the field. And I think that really that kind of has showed at different times this year. But Coach Eck has really just done a good job of getting back on schedule with it. And I think he just has so many weapons and he's so creative. I've never met him, but you can see his creativity playing out on the field. So, obviously it's a credit to his mind, but yeah, sometimes it can be your greatest strength and your greatest weakness.
Well said. All right. We have a lot to get into, so let's do game balls and get that out of the way here. So game balls presented by Jackrabbit Central. Thank you, Jackrabbit Central. That was a really Black Friday was 30% off. That was pretty incredible. I don't know about you all, but I loaded up on some stuff, some Christmas presents, and I got a couple golf shirts for myself. I got that bighorn with all the little Jackrabbit ones all over. So I like that shirt. That's cool. Did you get anything for Black Friday?
Not on Black Friday because I spent an embarrassing amount when I went up for the marker game. But I definitely got some little knickknacks here. I got a little pencil tree. I got a couple Christmas trees, so I got some ornaments for that. I got the pups some Jackrabbit gear, like I posted a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we're decked out in Jackrabbit stuff.
Hey, that's awesome. All right, so offensively, we just talked about them. I went with the 605 Hogs for my offensive game ball. I think you could give it to Isaiah or Pierre, but their success is really a credit to what the offensive line did in this game.
That's generous of you. That I'm definitely going to go with Pierre and Isaiah, because you don't rush for over close to 200 yards apiece in a playoff game. But yeah, I mean, I would give it to all three. 605 Pierre
Sure.
and Isaiah.
We got enough game balls to go around. Yeah.
That's right. I'm so thankful. We're just going to give them out to everybody.
Hey,
Just with one too. You get a game ball.
Yeah. We have automatic game balls. So honestly, if an offensive lineman scores that,
he should be. It's Gus actually.
Yeah, it's Gus. Sorry, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. Defensively, I did go with Dallas. I went with Dallas.
Who?
And one of our rules though is one of my rules is you get a pick six, you get a game ball. And so when Adam Bach, ran that one back, he's like, yep, Bach turned the tide of this game, pick six, he's gone. And then Dallas gets his second one. I'm like, ooh, okay. Then Dallas gets his third one, which he turns into a pick six. And sorry, Adam, you've won this award enough times this year. So
yes, and we should mention, that's a great point, Matt, that Adam is up for the Buck Buchanan Award, which is for the best defensive player in the FCS.
Mm-hmm.
The top three of that award balloting will get an opportunity. I believe it's the week of December 7th, to head out for that award presentation, to see who finally gets the nod for it. Same thing with the Walter Payton Award, where we got our guy PS2.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably going to be in the top three. I mean, I would be shocked if he's not. I don't see a third better player than him. I know Eric Barriere is putting up, stupid numbers, but so is Pierre. So I really think it's a toss-up between those two right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I saw Sam Herder posted his ballot, and he had Strong in second, behind Barriere. So, but in front of Cole Kelly or Chase Kelly. Cole Kelly. Yeah, Chase Kelly is an NFL quarterback now. Played at Dream U.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Eastern.
Are you thinking of
East
Chad
Mississippi?
Kelly?
Chad Kelly. Yeah.
Jim Kelly's nephew. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Let's move on. All right. Let's go over this round one review here, and I'm going to share my screen and get this up here. See, this is where Dallas. Dallas is off having fun here. He's on vacation. So good for Dallas. Well deserved. He survived the Halloween rush. All right. Can you see that? You see the bracket?
Yeah, you can. Can you zoom in a little bit more?
Yep.
They don't need to see our ugly mugs for this.
There we go. Let me. Can I just make that? No. All right. We're good. So.
There we go.
All right. Perfect. All right. So let's go and be in. Man. All right. So the upper part of the bracket here. Incarnate Word versus Stephen F. Austin in a heartbreaker overtime here. So Rev, Dustin Helton, if you're still with us here, man, sorry, that's a terrible way for your team to lose. So heck of a game. Ward sure looks like a player at quarterback there. I haven't watched an Incarnate Word game since the Youngstown game earlier this season, but even in that game, you could just tell, man, he looks good. Did you anything to say on that game?
Yeah, there was a thick with two C's touchdown in that game, where a big man ripped the ball away from the offensive player and housed it. So you love to see that. And it was a SFA lumberjack. So it was our distant cousin down in Nacogdoches, our distant cousin Jax down in Texas, where Dustin resides, I believe, or that's where his heart resides.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought that SFA was going to be able to do it, just given that it's a pretty storied program at the FCS level. They're definitely on the rise down there. I think they're in the Southland still, and I think they're doing a really good job with that program. But Incarnate Word definitely had a lot of offensive firepower, throwing up 35 points. That's going to be hard to overcome regardless. I think they're both going to have their their hands full, regardless. Whoever was going to come out on top in that game against Sam in the next round. So not a whole lot more there. I had SFA though, so that was my one or two beaters that I lost.
Sure. Yeah, I had Missouri State over UT Martin, and if it wasn't for 4 turnovers from Missouri State, I think it would have been Missouri State. But UT Martin really shut down their run game outside of their quarterback. So
yeah, now
kind of crazy there.
Shelley had opportunities, and I think, I didn't see all 3 of his picks. I saw 2 of them. Both of them looked like they got tipped or were a good defensive play. Really, the receiver should have hauled in the receptions and just bounce the other way. And sometimes it'll happen like that. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
All right, let's go down. Let's go over. All right. So then we have SIU beating USD. Kind of a crazy game there. USD again, just turnovers. That's kind of a theme coming out of all these games, is just the amount of turnovers that happen. So Carson Camp just really didn't look like himself. Threw a couple interceptions, had the big fumble at the end. He's been dinged up though for quite a few weeks here, really nursing that shoulder injury. So hopefully he gets rested up, healed up for him. But USD, I mean, they're going to be a good team for the next couple of years, guys. They're recruiting well. They're good on the lines, good young quarterback, young running back. So that's going to be something to watch. So, but Southern though, it was nice to see them get a win. I picked them to win that game. I think they will give NDSU a tough game. I think they're built to play well against NDSU.
Yeah, I would say they're one of the more inconsistent teams that I've ever seen with the talent they have. And that's like, people may deflect and throw that the way of the Jackrabbits, but I would say the Jackrabbits are more a victim of attrition, right? Losing key players in pivotal moments a lot, just due to bad bounces, bad luck. And as it relates to Southern though, they have a really good defense. If you look at it, I mean, maybe they cede a lot of yards, maybe they cede way more points than they should, but I think they have playmakers in certain positions, the Quay Browns of the world, who are really solid defenders in the secondary. And then the Burners of the world who have come on along the defensive line, who sacked Camp on Saturday as well. And, guys getting quarterbacks like Carson Camp off his spots where he wants to get in rhythm, a lot like Tommy Schuster of UND, where they're just they can settle in really nice and get into those rhythm throws. That got Carson off his spots and really allowed SIU to put the clamps down and capitalize big.
Yeah. So let's talk about Kennesaw's win there. And I'm not 100% sure why this isn't showing up all the way. There we go. So Kennesaw beat Davidson rather handily, 48-21. And so I was just pulled up, some stats from Kennesaw there, just because I was intrigued. And, they still run that triple option. They attempted 8 passes on the day, 300 rushing yards, and they were expected to beat Davidson. So that's not that surprising. But to go a whole college football game and only attempt 8 passes just still blows my mind in this world we live in of high-powered offensive football.
Yeah, I mean, I think that offense is on borrowed time in the playoffs. It's unless they just get super fortunate bounces, it's not going to be able to be balanced enough to beat teams who can completely take away the run game, and play disciplined football at the right time. I did think that they were going to take it to Davidson. I thought Davidson, it's one of those teams where it's kind of a fringe draw, regardless if it's an AQ or not. I think that, Rhodey on the outside looking in from a better conference, and, people threw a lot of shade at a team that we're going to get to in UNI, but still think.
Kyle, I got to pause you. We have breaking news.
Okay.
Chase Mason has just committed to the Jacks.
Oh, wow.
So for those of you that are,
that's huge.
Follow the recruiting world. Chase went to Nebraska to play baseball, was a 4-star baseball recruit. a 3-star football recruit that sounds like his recruiting really heated up for both sports. Towards the end, I believe he had a Wyoming offer for sure. And so this is interesting. He is coming in as a quarterback.
Wow.
So we'll see on that. But this is a huge commit for the Jacks to get him to transfer back. So sorry for cutting you off there, but that just popped up on Twitter. So
no, that's pivotal. That's big news, right? Because you always want some insurance. I think Mark will bounce back and he'll be strong. He'll be healthy. He'll be good to rock. But you can never have too many bullets in the chamber when it comes to arms and guys who can sling it. And now he's a big frame, big body guy. Matt and I were talking back and forth prior to knowing if he was going to commit to the Jacks, and kind of throwing some ideas around. He's kind of a body size of like a Jason Schneider, who played back in the day, maybe a little bit smaller than a Winicky in terms of overall length of frame, but height, he's about there. So you never know. Could he convert to be a wide receiver? Is he a team first guy? Will he want to do that? Is he just going to be a football guy? These are all questions that'll be answered over time, but really good get for the Jacks, right?
Yeah. Again, sorry for cutting you off. Do you want to finish any thoughts there in Kennesaw?
For all the national fans, Kennesaw is just one of those teams that, I think they got a good draw for their first round game at 10-1. Clearly the committee didn't feel that they had enough on their resume to earn even a seed, which I think was kind of expected from anyone who really follows closely the FCS. I think they're going to maybe have their hands full with East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State's got a good D. For those who don't know or maybe don't remember, they knocked off Vanderbilt. Say what you will about Vanderbilt, but it's still an SEC squad. And so I think that'll be an interesting game to see, because I think it'll show on a national scene what caliber of team Kennesaw State actually is.
Yep, exactly.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, spot on with that. All right, let's go down Eastern Washington and UNI. UNI gave it a good shot there. Theo Day, though, threw one too many interceptions there. Eastern Washington won 19-9. UNI, it sounds like, got stymied at the goal line twice, which isn't great. But we knew that UNI was going to be very physical. They have a good secondary, a very experienced secondary, and they did a decent job, it looks like, statistically, of sticking in there with Eastern Washington. From those that watched the game, it sounds like that Eastern Washington was in control for the whole thing. No, you're okay. Yep. Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
No, I watched the latter part of the game. But I kind of agree. I kind of disagree. So Kyler, our friend with FCS Fans Nation, he was right. Like, their defense stepped up and really made big plays when they needed to. But I do think, again, this is more of a function of the inconsistency of the UNI offense. To drive the length of the field multiple times and not walk away with any, game-changing momentum is huge. So credit part of that to Eastern Washington, but credit more to that to the paltry play on the offensive side of the ball in terms of consistency of UNI. Because, for us Missouri Valley guys, we've watched UNI play. If they can put together an offense with the consistent defense that they've got, they literally are a perennial national championship caliber team.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's kind of a wash as I see it. Eastern's not a team to be toyed with. I will say that they're not a team to be toyed with. What they can do on offense, you've got to capitalize on defense. And EB showed why, because, and here's another reason, Matt. UNI had opportunities to sack EB when the game was still well within reach. And, he converts on a scramble wild touchdown. So, that's a reason why he's up for the Walter Payton Award, and that's a reason why they're advancing to Montana.
Yep. All right. Southeastern Louisiana versus Florida A&M. And so we talked about this just being an interesting matchup last week, just for the fact that we really didn't know a ton about FAMU. And, like, they have some pieces, but CLA is a good team. And I just think, again, maybe the size was a step up from maybe what they're used to. Just we'll see. Like I think if more of these games start happening, you'll see, these HBCUs just change a little bit about what they're doing, recruitment strategy. North Carolina A&T, Ben and Brennan talked about that last week on the B team, just how A&T's struggling a little bit with the adjustment to come up, but very talented, history-rich program that if they want to do this FCS playoff thing, they'll make the adjustments and they'll become competitive. But for right now, though, CLA, I think is going to be a good game for James Madison next week. I'm looking forward to that one as a kind of a game to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It'll really all boil down to, in my opinion, the turnover differential and how balanced CLA can be on offense, because we know James Madison is going to want to come out there, going to want to play some smash mouth ball, really wear down Southeastern Louisiana, maybe possess the ball longer than CLA, very much akin to the NDSUs of the world on the other side of the bracket, or on that side of the bracket still. So it'll be fascinating to see. I like what you said, though. Love what FAMU did this year. And I like the fact that FAMU made the playoffs and that the Jacks are advancing beyond FAMU, because I know Chris had an opportunity to play at FAMU, and I think he consistently is excited that he made the Jacks his home for his final year. So I think that, it's cool to see them have some success. I like to listen to some of the FCS Fans Nation's guys who have more expertise on this, kind of shed light, because historically it doesn't seem like they can just get traction, with like North Carolina A&T. They have tons of talent, right? And they're in great areas. They get excellent fan turnout. They have great culture and history surrounding the programs. So it'll be kind of cool to see them start to try to develop, and look out, man, because it'll only add value to the FCS as a classification.
100%. All right. So our side of the bracket now, again, we took care of UC Davis. We talked about that. The Holy Cross Sacred Heart game. That was a much closer game than I expected. I really thought Holy Cross would take care of Sacred Heart there. But it took a last second touchdown, right? To do it. So pretty crazy there. Sad to see Joey Chestnut. Chestnut. No longer in the playoffs. I mean, he's a good back. So yeah. Sacred Heart, I believe they were the team. Sacred Heart took Delaware last year to the wire in the spring playoffs. So I thought they had a good team. I didn't think that they were going to be able to compete. Holy Cross was going to be at home. It's going to have that momentum. Had a good playoff home field turnout. I believe they had the most in terms of the first round games and in terms of home field advantage. So it would be very, very fascinating to see what would happen if Holy Cross dropped that one. But I think no matter what happens, Villanova is going to take them to the woodshed.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Jordan Fink commented, really wish the HBCUs and the Ivy Leagues would fully participate in the playoffs. 100%, Jordan. Really, I agree. We all wish that. We'd love to see what the Ivy Leagues could do. So,
Matt, you got any insight on that? You think, is it all money from the Ivy League? Is it a money thing? They keep saying, they're academics first, but they have a basketball tournament and they go to March Madness. So
yeah, that's what it sounds like. That's the reason they keep giving. So
yeah,
I don't know if it's a pride thing or what, but
yeah, maybe we should table that and discuss, because I know there has been some discussion how making the FCS playoffs is a money bleeder. So
yeah,
potentially the Ivy, they're all about budgets and finance and stuff in the Ivy League. Perhaps that's part of the reasons they don't enter it.
All right, let's move on here to the Sacramento State Preview here, and let's turn off this ticker. Man, where is Dallas when you need him? Oh, you got it, Kyle? Good, thanks. Or is that Chad? Is Chad in the background? Chad, are you here?
Chad's helping.
All right, thanks, Chad. We appreciate you. All right, so let's dive into this Sac State Preview here. And I can stop sharing my screen. Whew, there we go. All right. So Sacramento State, it's kind of funny. I was commenting to Kyle. I wish I had taken better notes when I was reviewing UC Davis last week. UC Davis and Sacramento State met in the season finale of the regular season, which allowed Sac State to clinch the outright title, along with Montana beating Montana State. But Sacramento State and UC Davis are rivals. They have I forget the exact name of their rivalry, but it's like the freeway or something like that. So I told Kyle before we got started here, UC Davis is Sacramento State light. And that's not necessarily a slight at UC Davis. It's Sacramento State's a good team that does some goofy things like UC Davis does, where they have two quarterbacks, one who is statuesque and another who is the team's leading rusher. And so two very contrasting styles of quarterback that you're going to see. They have three other running backs who have 50-plus carries. They have a decent-sized offensive line. And defensively, they're pretty stout against the run. Opponents are averaging just 115 a game, I believe. And a lot of that came in games against Cal and UNI early in the season. They've really done well recently. Cal, some thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we have several like opponents, right? We have Dixie State, whom they struggled with on the road, 19-7. That's their opener of the year. Then they lost two straight. They got taken to the woodshed by UNI, 34-16. That was at home for the Hornets. The Cal game, not a lot really expected there in terms of the FBS opponent, the difference in money, the difference in travel, but, a lot of in-state pride, right? Because it's Cal. Played admirably, only dropped that one by 12 points. So they were within two scores there. Idaho State, real close game there, which is not necessarily the most stout of Big Sky opponents. 23-21 was that final score. Then they rattled off some good wins. Southern Utah, one-handedly by 3 scores. And then at Montana, which Matt, you pointed out, was against the backup quarterback for Montana. Some interesting things going their way to get that draw. And then, they didn't lose another game since the Cal game on the 18th of September. So, they beat UC Davis, which is another like foe that we've had. They beat them 27-7 just 2 weeks ago. So we're going to have good, relevant game film, even more relevant than some film you'd ever see against playoff opponents, right? So that's another nod to just good advantage Jackrabbits there. And 27-7. So you see their defense is playing some stout ball. I know UC Davis dropped, I want to say, their last 2 games before ours, so they weren't necessarily playing hot. I think, Matt, what we can expect from their roster and from what I've seen on film, it's going to be a well-coached team. My little brother got a scholarship offer from them, so I'm thinking they know talent. Like maybe that's my bias. Maybe that's my bias. But my younger brother's built very much like their roster. He's 6 foot, 215, can fly, right? Very different than me. I'm large and slow. So but you're going to see a lot of those, tweener safety type build bodies at the second levels, a lot of the scat type receivers who are built like water bugs, but if you take a bad angle, they can get out the gate on you. And then I would say, get stout interior linemen, but can they move a Missouri Valley line? That'll be interesting. I think the trench battle is going to be the separator right here. The gap is the motivator, and that's going to be what separates the Jacks from a win versus an on the road, loss. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You said scat back and stuff. Their leading running back rusher, his name is Cameron Scataboo. And so kind of funny there, kind of ironic. But a couple players on defense that really stood out to me, and this is from watching the UC Davis film, but then also looking at the stats today. Their nickelback is a linebacker, essentially. He's number 15, Marte Mapu, 6'3", 221, and he leads the team with 4 interceptions. And so he's that tweener that you just talked about. It's so funny. Like, we didn't even talk about this, Kyle, and you're doing perfect here. And so, like, he's their second leading tackler, so he just flies around the field. all over the place. And then their rush defensive end, Josiah Erickson, has just had a heck of a season. I believe he has 9.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for loss. He's actually their third leading tackler. And so with 53 stops from a rush defensive end spot. And so, man, that's going to be a good matchup there. We'll see how he impacts the game for sure.
Yeah. And their head coach is a former offensive coordinator at Utah. So we need to take them seriously. Our defensive coordinators, Coach Rogers and Coach Bergstrom, are going to have their hands full because I know they're going to have a lot of looks. A lot of things are going to be thrown at them. But to the Jacks' credit, like Matt and I were talking before in pre-production, they will use their backup quarterback a lot in running situations. Now, is that great? Is it not? We use Rudy in a similar way. But we use Rudy in a very specific package, right? Mm-hmm. And it was mainly largely to fill a void of Isaiah being out. So now we have this element of the 1-2 punch, which is very much a heavyweight punch with Isaiah and Pierre. How is that going to shape up with their running attack, right? Against a very stout, because, it's good on good, right? Our rush defense is solid. Look for them to try to take advantage of the air, I would imagine.
Yep. And absolutely. And speaking of that, offensively, we have to take care of the ball. They have forced 16 interceptions this year, a ridiculous number. And I believe they've had multiple games with 3 interceptions in them. Against UC Davis, they had 3 interceptions, which we saw they like to chuck it up there. But still, that's a lot of interceptions for one season. That's like 2 seasons worth sometimes for some programs. So that's just something to keep an eye on and something that stood out to me.
They have a great DBs coach. Sorry, Matt. They have a great DBs coach. He's very disciplined. And I got to kind of follow and peek behind the curtain with him a little bit. And I think he's going to have his guys playing good disciplined ball. So, those windows are going to need to get through our check down. Chris is going to need to have confidence and just be decisive in where he wants to go with the ball. And I think all will work out in our favor.
Yeah. I don't think the crowd's going to be a huge factor. They play in a big stadium. There's a track around the field. They average about 8,000 people. Maybe the 8 o'clock kickoff time, our time, is going to be maybe more of a factor but with your body clock. But I do know that the team, practices at all given times. So maybe 8 o'clock when you're 19 years old is no big deal. For me, I'd be dying.
I mean, I agree with you, Matt. I think that, so this is what I would look at in the next stretch run here. It's going to be the miles traveled. It's going to be finals, right? Because these are real life things. It's not just like, oh, hey, I'm going to set my 2 deep on my PS5 or whatever they have nowadays and get people, going out and just playing at 100%. It's not a simulation. It's real life. So they got traveling these miles, adjusting to the time zone. It's been daylight saving time in the Midwest, and it's starting to get into close to winter now, if it's not already winter. So it's getting dark at 4 in Minnesota and South Dakota. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very different when you're going out there and the sun's still up and your circadian rhythms, which is just a science word. I think that's right. Are all jacked up. Right. So I'm curious to see if I'm the Jacks, I'm practicing every single day at game time. Every single day at the time the game is going to be played, and trying to adjust their natural clocks to that, because you got to account for everything in the playoffs. So just do it now. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So I'm interested in just kind of seeing all these things. Like, this is an uncommon opponent. I don't know if we've ever played Sacramento State, but they've made the playoffs 2 years ago. They lost actually in the second round hosting, similar situation. They lost to SEMO, was it? I don't remember.
Sure. I do know that they lost, because I was pretty shocked. That was the year my little bro got offered, so I was really excited to see what they're going to do. But it's tough when you don't have that history, right? It goes back to Missouri State and some of these other programs trying to really build that momentum.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into some predictions here and see what happens. So predictions are presented by Eric Erickson of Cutler Law Firm. Cutler Law Firm is a full-service law firm in Sioux Falls. They build relationships built on trust, treat clients with honesty and integrity. That personal attention provides prompt, efficient legal solutions in corporations and businesses, financial services, litigations, trusts, and estates, and more. So be sure to reach out to Eric, again, at Cutler Law Firm, 605-271-4938, or Eric E. at cutlerlawfirm.com. So thanks, Eric, for your sponsorship. Really appreciate it. Missed you at tailgating this week. So
and that's a great script that he gave you, man.
I know, right?
We need to get scripts from all our sponsors. I'm trying. I'm reaching out to them.
I know. So next year.
That's right.
Or maybe we still have 4 games left, 5 games left. We have plenty of time.
Like it.
We can get it right. All right. So score-wise, I'm thinking the Jacks 38, Sac State 27, something like that. I think it's going to be a little more high scoring on both sides than maybe we'd like to see, probably.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I'm going to go 30 to 24 Jacks. 30 to 24 Jacks. And Matt, you made if Dallas Bynum didn't show up, Reese may have vied for it with Bach there. But you picked Reese Winkleman, and up to that point, he was making some really, really nice plays for the guys. So I'm going to go 30 to 24 good guys. Who do you have for your top performer?
Yeah, I do think I'm not going to say they're going to limit the running attack, but I do think Chris Ladokin's going to have to make plays, and I think he will respond. So Chris Ladokin is my offensive pick of the week.
I like that, Matt. This is crunch time for the grad transfer, for the storied athlete who on 3rd and 19, home playoff game, pivotal moment, scrambled for 20 yards like it was nothing. I love to see that because that's only going to carry into this Sac State game where a warm weather kid is going to take tops off of this defense. I'm getting hyped right now just talking about it. I like the Chris pick. I'm going to go with Thunder and Lightning, both of them.
Hey.
Thunder and Lightning. And here's why. Because even if they don't eat, they're going to force that defense to honor the run to such a degree that's going to open stuff up for Chris. So it's also kind of like a pick for Chris as well when I pick Thunder and Lightning there. So, that's what I'm going with. And defensively, I'm going to go with Don. I'm going to go with Don Gardner.
Hey, there we go.
They're going to try him a lot. So,
hey, when do you think, Kyle, you have more medical, knowledge than I do. When's that cast coming off? Because that is affecting his tackling, and he did drop that pick. So
yeah, it's not coming off. I think you got to look at the frame, and I think you're going to protect it just since it's been surgically repaired. I think that was the word.
Sure.
I don't know, so I don't want to speak on someone else's injury. But with respect to wearing it, you just got to protect it. Yeah, that kind of. Sure. It kind of sucks, but you know what? He didn't use it as an excuse the second time, so he picked it.
Yep. There we go. Good. So I didn't pick anyone, did I? Defensively?
No, you picked Chris. Who you got on defense?
Yeah, defense. The Colonel. I think we may see some games from Reese and the Colonel. Sac State starts 2 freshmen on one side of the defensive or offensive line. I'd love to see those 2 bully those freshmen for Sac State. So we'll see. I know it's not that simple, the matchup wise along the defensive line, but I do think that there could be some opportunities there for those 2 talented players. So.
Indeed. And you know what? I'm looking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to going back and watching what Butcher and Brinkman were able to do, because statistically, the Colonel Caleb Sanders has done quite similar work to the resume of Brinkman. Now, where the difference is total tackles. But in terms of tackles for loss, I want to say he was at like 12.5. Brinkman was at 13. In terms of sacks, I think Brinkman maybe had 2 more. And he had 6, or maybe they had the same. So it's really interesting to see the type of production Caleb's been able to have. Now, we haven't heard a lot from Big X in a while. And, he's been that steady contributor. So hopefully he can do what he needs to do as well and show up in the stat sheet, or at least influence the game, getting the quarterback off his spots.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing, speaking about these interior guys, I just love the chain gang. I really feel like Crockett's playing some of his best ball in the last couple of years. In the past couple of weeks, he has been active and playing with a motor again.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he's been looking really good. I'm excited to see him finish his career so strongly, I guess.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up, man, because every time I was flipping on the tape and just kind of rewatching, backing it up, seeking it back, he was literally just popping up in each frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, his activity, his effort, chasing, trying to get in on the piles, pivotal in this time of year.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Let's win this. Let's keep. I'm ready to have more shows. So let's not end this season. Let's get a W.
I like it, man. Always good to talk to you. And with that, go big,
go big, go blue, go Jacks.